voice, but the microphone helps definitely, but just wave if you can't hear me. So I'm from Fuel Poverty Action, which is a campaign for affordable, sustainable and democratic energy. We campaign against the big six energy companies who in 2012-2013 made £3.7 billion profit, whilst in the same time 10,000 people died in the UK from the impacts of living in a cold home. A commonly cited figure about fuel poverty is that 1 in 4 people in the UK are choosing between heating or eating, and often the people making those choices are mothers who, choose to miss a meal rather than see their children go cold. And one of the things that is coming back to us time and time again also is that mothers are scared of their children going to school and saying to teachers that they're cold, because if they get the social worker called on them, it might look like they're neglecting their children. So, there's all kind of layers of how, the energy system kind of destroys families and people's lives in such a big way. Debt is one of those ways. There's about 4 million homes in the UK who are in debt to their energy supplier at the moment. Collectively, the figure I looked at today said that it's about £500 million that is owed by households to suppliers. Generally, that's the big six suppliers, so British Gas, EDF, E.ON, npower, SSE and Scottish Power. In May 2014, a third more households owed energy debt. Sorry, I've got that wrong. A third of households in debt in May 2014 owed more than they did in May 2013, despite the fact that it was a really, really mild winter. So you would have expected to have seen, people's debt go down, perhaps, because they shouldn't have been putting on the heating that much because it was mild, but they weren't. And a survey by USwitch suggested that about a quarter of households are kind of so stressed out by their debt that they kind of don't look at it and try and not think about it. A big issue around debt is that more and more people are being forced onto prepayment meters, which is when you have to go to the shop to top up your meter. And you go to the shop and you say, can you put £10 on my key or my card? And then you go home and then you get gas or electric. And in the UK, there's now 10 million people who are on prepayment meters, and it's about 280 per day are installed on a warrant visit. And that means that the energy company has gone to court generally to apply for a warrant to break into your home often and install a prepayment meter whether or not you want it. And the reason for that is that you've fallen into debt and they don't believe they say they don't believe there's any other way to get that money from you except by installing that prepayment meter, setting up a kind of debt repayment scheme on the meter, and then every time you feed that meter, you're paying it back. So if you top up your meter £10, they might set it that they're taking off £8 a week in debt repayment, which means you're left with £2 to use. You're not left with £2 to use either, actually, because there's a standing charge for the pleasure of having the meter in your home, which is about £2 a week. This does make debt resistance very hard because how do you resist something when you resist it, and that means that you don't have any energy to use at all? So I'm not gonna pay my energy debt, and that means I'm just gonna freeze and not have a hot shower or that kind of thing. That kind of means that can't pay, won't pay, won't really work with the way that energy is going. I know that's worked on other debt things, but I don't think it can work when so many people are on prepayment meters. So we do need to think about how can we resist debt with the situation that we're in. There are a few things you can do. It is still possible, perhaps, to fiddle your meter. Wouldn't want to say it's obviously illegal. Wouldn't recommend it, but some people do still do it, and they make it work. Some people we know have said that they're still on an estimated reading if they're still getting a bill through, and they know that the estimated reading is much too low, but they don't want to let the company know, so they're purposefully paying a lot less than they're using because they can't afford to pay the full amount. And sorry, I should have said at the beginning, the average energy bill, dual fuel bill, so that's your gas and your electric, is about £1,400 a year at the moment. and bills have gone up 168% in the last decade, and I think we know that benefits and wages have certainly not seen that same level of increase, in fact probably a big decrease. You can fight your energy supply when you're on the phone to them, or even when they're at the doorstep with the meter. People, they'll try and push you to a prepayment meter in any way they can, but you can stand up to them, you can say that you don't want one, you can argue that you will find a debt repayment scheme that's better for you and that leaves you less vulnerable for times when you simply don't have the money to top up the meter. You can go to court to stand up for yourself, you can say you cannot get a warrant to break in. I mean, the magistrate probably will go on their side, but the more of us that can support each other to go to court and fight and win, the better we can do it. And yeah, I mean, if you see it happen to your neighbour and they say, this is happening, I don't want it to happen, in the same way that we can resist evictions, we can resist forced prepayment meter installations, which kind of lead to people having to pay their debt. I think really getting organised around the issue is the only way forward. Communities getting organised is the only way forward. One thing that we've done is got a Know Your Rights card, and it's kind of your 5 top tips for if you're falling into debt with your energy supply, what you can do. And we've got loads, and I'll leave them at the back. And we've also recently made a kind of mini rights guide, and it's kind of 20 pages of easy to read info about what to do if you have fallen into debt. Get in touch, organise with us. We would love to kind of see the energy companies off in court. We'd love to see people resist break-ins in their communities. We'd love to see people successfully fiddle their meters because they don't need our money. So, cool, thanks.